There's a row inside Jack Dorsey's new app that says Hermes Agent is not installed, and it had been saying that since the day I installed the app on a machine that runs Hermes every single day. Both of those things are true at the same time, and the reason why isn't a bug. And the thing hiding it was a paradox about version numbers. Once you've seen it, every grayed out row on that list stops being a mystery. So I'm going to wire my own agent into Buzz on camera, and then I'm going to give you the 7 things I'd want in place before I let that agent near anything that matters. Because the helper Buzz talks through defaults to skipping the permission flow entirely, it also defaults to answering only its owner. And that second default is the only thing keeping the first one off everybody else. Nobody at Block is paying me, nobody at Nous Research is paying me, and I've never spoken to a single person at either company. I use Hermes every day, and I rate it. So factor that in when you listen to me. The sources for every claim I'm about to make are down in the description. Let's get into it.
Hey, I'm Johnny Nile. I spent years building businesses the old hard way, managing teams, scaling operations, and doing everything manually. Today, everything I built, from automations and no-code infrastructures to fully AI SaaS products, has AI helping in one way or another. Firstly, let me quickly show you this. In South Africa, we call this a braai. I build with AI tools that, in my opinion, anyone can learn to use. My mission is simple: to help creators, entrepreneurs, and business owners get clarity with AI. Let's build smarter together and enjoy this video.
Let me quickly show you the actual screen, because you've most probably seen this list and scrolled straight past it. When you make an agent in Buzz, there's a drop down where you pick the program that does the thinking. 13 rows live in that list. And on this machine, 9 of the 13 were grayed out with the words not installed next to them. Hermes Agent was one of the gray ones. So was Oh My Pie. And AMP, Cursor, Devon, Grokbuild, KimiCode, OpenClaw, and OpenCode are still gray today. Now, is the app lying to you? No, it's telling you the truth about the one thing it checked. What it never tells you is what that thing was. And that's the whole problem. The room and the program answering in it are 2 separate things, which is the piece I went through last time. What I never showed you is what happens when the program you want is right there and the app can't see it. Okay, look at this. This is the command their own documentation tells you to run. And this is what it printed. It did update the agent itself, so you're not looking at a total failure here. In that same run, you can watch Hermes go from the version I'd been on to the newest one. And then 2 installs failed for exactly the same reason. The main one and the web interface, because the package wanted a newer node than I had, and it refuses a band of NPM versions that mine sat on the edge of. Then, underneath both of those failures, it printed code updated. So had I broken something on this machine? No, and if you read the 2 lines it prints, it tells you precisely what it wanted. And the run's own closing line says it plainly. Update partially complete. The dependencies did not refresh. So a tool can report success and failure to you in the same breath. And the summary at the bottom isn't the same thing as the output you scrolled past to reach it. The code that repairs this automatically was added to Hermes on the 28th of July. This machine was on a release from 3 weeks before that. And this update command runs the code you're updating from, not the code you're updating to. So the fix arrived in that same run. It just couldn't be applied because the code doing the updating was the old code. Let me take you through what fixed it for me, because there were 2 separate things and only one of them was obvious. The first thing was Node itself. The version your update runs under has to be new enough, and mine was too old, with its NPM sitting on that same edge. So I put a newer node on and ran that identical command a second time. That time it came back completely clean, with none of the errors you just watched. In the other one, I'd never have guessed. Buzz looks for a launcher on your machine called Hermes-CP. That launcher already existed inside Hermes' own environment, and Hermes' own project file declares it by name. What was missing was a 4-line file in a folder on my path, and the same 4 lines were already there for the ordinary Hermes command you type every day, just pointed at a different file. I wrote that shim myself and opened that drop-down for a second time. Hermes Agent was now black and selectable, where a minute earlier it had been grayed out. Now, mine isn't the shape Nous use. Theirs hands the job back to the Hermes launcher instead of pointing straight into the environment. So if you're copying one tonight, copy theirs. Mine works, but theirs is the one they maintain. So the app was never looking at your agent, guys. It was looking at a name on a list your shell reads when it starts. And you might reasonably ask why their own updated didn't do that for me. Their docs say it does that for you now. I haven't seen it fire on my own machine, because the code that writes that file shipped in the version I was fetching. This machine has 3 different nodes on it, and the one that broke the install isn't the one my login shell hands me. Different shells hand you different paths, and only one of those is the path your app is going to read. So let's actually use it, because a row you can click is a long way from an agent that answers. You make an agent, you pick Hermes Agent in that same drop-down, and you drop it into a channel. I asked it one question in the general channel: are you running, and which harness am I talking to you through? So did it answer? It joined the channel, and the member count went to 2. 2 markers came up under my message, both of them under the agent's name, an eyes emoji, and a little speech bubble. And then nothing else arrived while I sat there watching it. That same agent answers me in my terminal in about a second. And here it didn't answer at all. So the demo didn't land, and I'm leaving that in. And you'd be right to ask whether that's even the same agent. It's the same install with the same configuration, the same memory, and the same skills as the one in my terminal, because Buzz isn't running its own copy of anything. That 4-line file points at the copy that was already on this machine. Everything else on that screen is real. The row is black, the agent is in the room, and my message got to it. Now, the moment that agent does answer you, it's already holding a command line on the machine you are sitting at. Nous lists terminal and execute code in their own documentation as tools that agent carries. The Buzz side approves automatically, and owner only is the one thing standing in front of all of it. So there are 7 things I'd want in place on your machine before you let any of that near your work. And the people who build Hermes wrote one of them into their own documentation. And guys, I've put all 7 on one page in the order you do them, with the exact command or setting for each one. It's the 7-point pre-flight card, and it's the page I wish I'd had in front of me before I opened that room to anybody else. It's waiting inside the AI Founders vault with the rest of the guys, and the link is down in the description below. So number 1, and this one takes 30 seconds. Start with your identity key. I showed you Buzz's own warning about that last time, so I'm not going to do it twice. The key sits in your keychain, and anyone holding it can impersonate you. The new part is that Block shipped a password-protected backup in the July release, which I've read on their release notes and haven't opened myself. If you've already got Buzz open, that's the one to go and find. Your room is the next one. Make it owner only, and then go and confirm it rather than assuming. Keep it at 1 member for your first week. The shipped program tells you both halves in one breath. The helper Buzz talks through defaults to skipping the permission flow entirely, and it also defaults to answering only its owner. So owner only is the only thing keeping that auto approval away from everybody else in your channel. And you don't have to take my word for either half. That helper isn't on your path, it lives inside the app. So you run it straight out of the bundle, /applications, /buzz.app, /contents, /macOS, /buzz-acp with --help on the end. And it prints both defaults. Third, when you do start letting people in, hand out invites that run out after a set number of people, not an open link. If membership is the whole permission model, then the invite is the permission. Your version number is the one I got wrong myself. So learn it off me. Read it before you trust any of this. It's Hermes space -- version, and it prints 1 line. I was running a release from weeks earlier while assuming I was current, which means smart approvals, deny rules, password manager secrets, and session export were all in a version I didn't have. I'd have told you I had them. Then give that agent an identity of its own and don't hand it yours. Nous document the full gateway path running with a dedicated key pair, and the adapter takes a lock so 2 profiles can't end up driving one identity. Number 6, put it on its own profile and route the room to that profile. So what it reads is that profile's config and secrets rather than everything you've got wired into your main one. You run 1 gateway with 1 token, and separate channels land in separate places, each with its own configuration and its own secrets. Deny rules are last, and they're the one I do even if you skip everything else. Write them before you connect anything. Nous said the Hermes July release added rules that hold even when the agent's running wide open, and a deny command that tells it why you refused so it corrects itself. Because the Buzz side approves automatically, this list is the only break you've got left, and Nous themselves put it plainest. In their own documentation, they describe asking an agent to delete a scratch directory with a recursive remove, and it did exactly that, with no prompt appearing anywhere. Those are their words and their test. And while you're in there, that same Hermes release lets you pull your API keys out of a plain text file and read them out of Bitwarden or 1Password instead. It's a different job, but you can do it in the same afternoon. Now, I know 7 of anything sounds like a Saturday gone. One of them is a toggle, the version check is 1 command, and the rest are worth the afternoon. So that's the 7, and every one of them exists because the agent in that room can act before you get a chance to stop it. Now, let's move over to the rest of that list because you've got 7 more rows sitting there gray and they're all the same problem. And no, I'm not going to pretend all 7 of them are one command. A few will take you an afternoon to get working, but the thing you're looking for is identical every single time. The app starts your login shell and asks it to resolve one command name. If your shell can't find that name, the row stays gray no matter what you've got installed on the machine. And how do you check the others? Block published the exact name for every row in their own source code, and you can test any one of them yourself. Open a terminal and type zsh-l-c, and then in quotes command-v, and the name. That's not me being fancy, that is literally the line Buzz runs. AMP and Hermes are the only 2 that want a separate adapter, AMP-ACP and Hermes-ACP. Every other row wants the tool's own name, and Buzz adds ACP on the end when it runs it. That's Devon, Cursor-Agent OMP OpenCode, Kimi, and OpenClaw. And Grok is the one worth opening that file for because Buzz doesn't launch it with ACP at all. It launches it with a flag called always-approve, and that's written into Block's own source, not something you switched on. On this machine, the homebrew root for OhMyPy stopped dead on an unaccepted Xcode license. And that's not advice. That's just what happened when I tried it. And the app ships 13 of these rows, while the file carrying the written descriptions only has 12. So if you go looking for Devon's, you won't find one, because Devon landed days ago and hasn't been given a description yet. So what does this actually cost you beyond an afternoon? It costs you attention, because you now have to watch a version number that most people never check. And that one number decided everything you just watched. The Hermes on my machine was 3 weeks behind the Hermes that had the fix in it. You've also got a second thing to keep updated because the room and the agent are 2 separate products on 2 separate schedules. And in my opinion, the real cost is that the safe setup is the boring one. That means owner only, 1 member, and your deny rules written before you connect anything. None of that is exciting, and it's the part that stops a bad afternoon. And if you're already paying for an agent, you're not buying a new one here. You're giving the one you've already got a room to work in, which is a much smaller decision than it looks. Let's just rewind for a second. What cost me 2 attempts was neither the agent you're paying for nor the app you installed. It was a 4-line file with a name in it that my shell reads when it starts. So what I do is open that drop-down on your own machine and see how many of those rows are gray. Then pick the one you already pay for and run that same login shell line on its name. You'll know inside 10 seconds whether you've got the same problem I had. Tell me in the comments which row you tried and whether it went black. I genuinely want to know how many of you were on an old version without realizing it. And if you feel called to it, hit subscribe so you catch what's coming next. And guys, if you want the 7 already written down in the order you do them, that's the 7-point pre-flight card inside the AI Founders Vault. The link is down in the description below. I'm pointing this at the shared compute side of Buzz, where one machine runs the models for everybody else on your network. See you in the next one.